Welcome, Caesar, to our next edition of our Do More podcast. I'm interviewing Caesar Kenny today. And as traditional with all of our podcasts, we ask the person a fun, kind of playful question. So I'm going to ask you the question, but you can answer it at the end. We'll come back to it. So my question to you, Caesar, is if you had to describe yourself as any piece of office equipment, what would it be and why? Okay, but we'll come back to that.
All right.
Okay. So today's conversation with Caesar is around the foundations. So our founder is RCL Foods. So it's our founder's kind of connection and contribution to Do More Foundation. But maybe just to start with, your role now, heading up corporate affairs, is new. And before that, you were heading up operations, right, in terms of the sugar operations. What has been your experience of the foundation now in your new role, and your appreciation for the foundation, probably maybe a better way of phrasing it, now in your corporate affairs role versus what you're experiencing of the foundation in the operations?
My eyes really opened to the foundation, if you will recall, the session that you and the team had in Pongola, where you came and presented to the exec, and we had, physical, they call it inspections to some of the facilities where we do our work. And that's really when my eyes opened to the foundation. I think, we've always viewed from a distance and contributed and understood. But I think once you actually see the work that we are doing through the Do More Foundation and the difference that we are making in the lives of young children, the emotional connection for me was really, really built and fostered from that point, right? So I think from there onwards, if I recall, that was maybe a couple of years ago. I think from there, I got closer and more intimately involved. And even as my role when I was still MD of the sugar business, when I had time, I spent some time to go look at some of our community projects up there.
Yes.
And when you stay into, the eyes of children, you can't help but have a really, really positive, heartfelt experience. So I think that's where it started for me. In my role as corporate affairs, and let's call it also since being appointed as a trustee to the foundation, there's a more closer working relationship with the likes of yourselves, a better understanding, a richer understanding of the work that we are doing at project level, the support that we play, the backbone role that the foundation plays in the communities. So I think that understanding and the role that we can play to really enable one of the strategic thrusts that RCL Foods has in our business, which is centered around communities. And the end goal to build a longer sustainable license to operate in our communities. So I think that's where it started, that's where it's gone, and I'm happy to be on this journey with the team.
No, great. And I mean, the corporate social investment being within corporate affairs is not the way it's done across all companies. Why do you think it works in corporate affairs? I mean, and it used to be in marketing, as you know, corporate social investment. Often it's within HR. But why do you think it works in the corporate affairs space?
So for me, and for what I've seen in other companies, there's a lot of links into sustainability, and there's a lot of links into transformation, right? And having it sit in a function that doesn't really have that at its core is probably why you find that you might not get the necessary traction in HR or maybe even in marketing, right? So in my role as Corporate Affairs Director, I look at CSI. I've got a very close relationship with the lady that heads up our sustainability. I also look at communications as well as transformation. And I think the role that the foundation plays there are so many touch points and overlaps in this role that for me it makes the most logical sense to have it within my portfolio.
Yes, yeah. And RCL Foods has also been on the purpose journey.
Yes.
Do you want to? Can you explain a little bit about what is that purpose? And then we're going to talk about why the Do More Foundation plays such a critical role in that. So first of all, tell us a little bit about the purpose, RCL Foods' purpose.
So our purpose is a strapline that came together after months of research work and robust conversations, and it came together as we grow what matters. And what is exceptionally powerful about that is that it resonates both at a corporate business level as well as at a personal level. I think that there are many overlaps in things that matters to us as individuals personally, that we can resonate and build touch points with from a corporate space, right? So in this journey of we grow what matters, I must say that I went through a personal journey as well, because I never really critically thought about like what my own purpose was.
Right.
And I had to go through that journey. And I think if I can share, my personal purpose is, for wherever I go, I want to make things better, right? And I'm a huge believer in the role that corporates play in society, in building communities and enriching people's lives. And therefore, there are so many touch points in the way that we conduct our business that resonates with our purpose and my own personal purpose. I think it's an exceptionally powerful tool because, what matters to you, right, might not matter to the next person, right?
Right, yeah.
Might not matter to the next person. But I find that everyone can find something in this business that matters to them, right? That can contribute both to the performance of the company as well as to a custodian of a better citizen, corporate citizen in this country.
And so how do you see Do More being part of that purpose?
So as part of CSI, we see the Do More Foundation as the anchor around which we want to drive our sustainability and community engagement with, right? Understanding that there will always be areas, and this might be very business dependent, there will always be areas where the business might still want to fund, if I can maybe reference the sugar example,
yes,
a portion of their CSI spend to sponsor bursa students, right? Or to sponsor community building initiatives like the Salati campaign or the Salati marathon that is funded through the CSI as well as through the marketing budgets. But these things all, push the community, builds that engagement. That they are seen as positive contributing factors in building those relationships. But I see the Do More Foundation as the anchor around which we want to build our communities. So, if you look at South Africa, especially in the locations or the geographies where we operate, youth unemployment and unemployment is a massive issue.
Of course, yeah.
And the needs of young children has always been an afterthought. If you look at government funding, I think government is only really waking up to the fact that early childhood development is an area that they need to prioritize. They've always prioritized tertiary education from
Correct.
a funding perspective.
Yeah.
So, if we make a difference in the lives of young children, and we catch them at a very early age, I think research that you have shared with me, ironically, have shown that the sooner you make that difference, the better the chances are for those children to have a positive outcome later in life, right? So young children matter to us. Young children is the future of our country. It's the very same children that might be the future employees of RCL Foods, or that might play a unique role in other areas of business, or future leaders in government. And giving that child the best chance, I think through the role that the foundation plays as a backbone entity, is an effort that we really have to put our weight behind.
You know, over the weekend, I actually bumped into somebody who's a consultant to RCL Foods and also consultant to other big FMCG companies in South Africa, and he was just admiring what the foundation's created. And I was talking to him about the fact that Do More Foundation's now on every single Sunbake and Sunshine packaging. And we've created a brand that RCL Foods' brands can connect with, connect with in terms of purpose that we do. What would your advice be to other corporates out there wanting to maximize their corporate social investment spends, based on what you've seen happen in the RCL Foods world, with how RCL Foods funnels and channels its corporate social investment through the foundation? And I think this is going to be our last question. So what would your advice be to other corporates out there trying to maximize their corporate social investment spend?
So my advice will be that they have to be really, really intentional about that spend. I have seen over many years in other companies, where they spend that amount of money. If I remember, it's 1% or 1.5% of net profit after tax. And they really try and scurry to find opportunities to spend that money on so that they can have some form of positive contribution to their scorecard, right? But it hasn't really been well thought through. And I think, if you think about, impact, long-lasting impact, and an area where you really want to make a sustainable difference over the long term, be intentional about it. I know that society has many, many problems. Like I've seen some of the studies that we've done through our partners, where they go through a needs assessment in communities. And I mean, communities from infrastructure to aging schools to crime to, you can list them. There are so many needs, right? Yeah. But pick the one or two needs that you really want to make a difference, right? We've said that, early childhood is where we really want to make a difference, where we want to hone in and focus. And then we work with other partners to maximize that impact.
Yes.
So my advice would be, go through a similar type of process where you understand the needs of the community.
Yes.
Then engage with the community and say, from us as a corporate, this is an area where we want to make a difference.
Yes.
And take your community on that journey with you. We are not ignoring the other needs, but based on the amount of money that we have to spend, based on the relationships that we might have with other NGOs or other corporate partners,
yes,
we can make the best impact in this area and be absolutely intentional about it, rather than just, at year end writing out a check because you want to maximize your points on your scorecard. So I think that would be the single biggest advice.
Be intentional.
Be intentional.
Great. Caesar, thank you. It's been great having the conversation with you. I really appreciate the time. We need to come back to the fun question I asked you right in the beginning. So if there was a piece of office equipment that kind of describes you, what would that be?
If you can consider a coffee machine as part of the office equipment, I think that would really best describe me.
Okay.
So I think just in our context, I really enjoy the coffee that we have. We've got some good coffee machines out here, but I enjoy going down to our canteen and having a good cup of coffee. I see it as a really, really nice way to engage out of your office, away from your desk, in a less formal manner where you can really just have a conversation, because through conversations, I think, you really unlock, maybe better thinking. So I think what best describes me is creating that informal spaces, and the coffee machine in the office context is what I would pin my colors to.
Brilliant, great answer. Thank you. And again, thank you very much for your time today. And I hope you all enjoyed the Do More's podcast.
No, thank you for having me, and looking forward to maybe being invited back to a podcast like this. And just thank you for for the role that the foundation plays and the meaningful difference that it makes in our communities.
Thank you. Thanks, Caesar.
Playtime.